Yo, what's good, MMA gang? We're back today with another video discussing this up and coming fight night event, Arnold Allen versus Melquizael Costa, taking place at the featherweight division. And it's just a some slight fight night we got taking place at the Apex, the OO Apex. You know, we all hate or love. But yeah, we got a decent low card that the UFC gods have put together for us. And it's, nothing to break our spine about. They're trying to, I guess, in a sense, show that they don't need to compete with the MVP card and Netflix, everything they're trying to do. So they just gave us some slight card to just kind of show, we're not competing with y'all. Y'all are trying to get on our level. And there is big rumors that they're probably going to announce the Conor McGregor versus Max Holloway during the card once the MVP MMA fights are taking place, to kind of shit on their parade a little bit, as the UFC likes to do. But yeah, just wanted to come through, give y'all my breakdown, predictions, and overall just thoughts on what we got on this card. So I want to start off with the main event. We got Arnold Allen, who's been around the featherweight division for a long time, taking on Melquizael Costa. And for the most part, from what I've been seeing, I see a lot of people pushing Allen. He is closer to a fan favorite. He's been around for a good while now. And a lot of guys like his style. He always comes to scrap, and he's very athletic. Just had that pretty good scrap with Gene Silva earlier this year on the first card, the Paddy Pimblett and Gagey card. And he gave John Silva a pretty tough fight. And, he's fought like Max Holloway, Arnold Allen, his most recent win being against Giga Chikadze. So, he's been around the division for a long time, and he's a mainstay in that top 5 through 7 range, I'd say. And Costa went on a demon run last year, having around 5 fights last year and getting the dub in all of them. And he's really shown a diverse skill set. He really can take the fight on the feet, or he can take it to the ground and grapple you. And he has good defensive grappling as well. He's hard to get down, and he'll get back to his feet if you do get him down. So, he's a really good mixed martial artist all in all, for sure. Both of these guys are. But yeah, I've been seeing overall on Twitter and just the places that I, look to see how people are feeling about fights. I've been seeing a lot of people leaning Arnold Allen in this one. But I'm not going to lie, guys, I'm bought in on the Costa hype train a little bit. I think Melky has the tools to get it done. Arnold Allen stands in that heavy boxing stance with a lot of pressure on his front leg. And I feel like when Gene Silva was kicking that leg, it was, flying across the octagon because he has so much pressure leaned in on it, so he can really get his boxing combos off. And Costa has some of the nastiest kicks I feel like I've seen in this division. The way he just picked Dan Ige apart. Who does that to Dan Ige? As some would say, but for real, that was the first time Dan Ige got finished, and Costa was just hitting them head kicks and them low kicks, and he can really use that front leg to just throw a diverse set of kicks. He can throw front kicks from it. He landed one on Dan Ige, and man, yeah, his kicking game is just really dynamic. One of the best kickers, I might say, in the UFC at the moment. Probably grew up playing soccer in Brazil, a lot of the Brazilians. Jose Aldo with the crazy kicking game, he attributed to playing a lot of soccer growing up. So, yeah, I can see Costa slowly breaking down Arnold Allen's base and then maybe catching him with a head kick and maybe finishing it with like a submission. Arnold Allen is really tough. This is a 5-rounder, so, they're going to both have a lot of time to work. But, yeah, something's telling me to lean towards Melky in this one. I think he's the underdog going into it, I believe. Oh, okay, it's near even, but, yeah, he's a slight underdog going into this one. But I think he has enough to get it done. He's looked really good. Arnold Allen is a tough out, but with the 5 rounds to work, I feel like Costa does just bring that pain. So I think he can possibly, break Arnold Allen down and maybe get a 3 or 4 round submission around there. Arnold Allen has shown a lot of, heart in his recent fights, even the ones he's lost. And, he's made them very close. A lot of people gave the Movsar fight to him, even though I did lean Movsar in that one. But, he just shows a lot of heart and grit in his fights. But I do think Melky will have enough to get it done, and we'll see him start to progress towards the top of that food chain at 145. And then we're going to have Doo-Ho Choi taking on Daniel Santos. And, man, the Korean Superboy, I feel like I hear him talked about around a lot of OGs or people who've been watching for quite a few years. And they like watching him fight. I know he's Bedtime's boy. He's always bringing him up, but yeah, a lot of the community really fucks with his style. And in that last fight, he put away Nate Landwehr, the OG, in a pretty punishing fight as well. But Daniel Santos has been on quite a run himself, putting together the 4-fight win streak. And I don't want to make this, too racial, but He's put away 2 Asian dudes in his last fight, getting the KO, which was pretty impressive against Ju Sang Yu. So I think I'm going to lean Santos in this one, another featherweight bout. But I think he has enough to get it done in this one. Duho Choi hasn't been as active as he might have wanted to been, and he's getting a little bit up there in age. Santos, has the youth advantage on his side. So yeah, I think his crisp striking will get it done in this one. And I'll probably lean a decision over. I could see him getting the finish, but with 3 rounds to work, I think I'll lean the decision in this one. And then we have Malcolm Wellmaker returning after getting a little bit fraud check, some might say, by Ethan Ewing, who himself is a really good prospect on the come up, going against Juan Diaz, who had that nasty spinning elbow KO on the Contender Series. And both of these guys, they come to strike and they have a lot of grit. On the Wellmaker side, he's one of my favorites. I think on this channel, I'm going to be rooting for bro as he's going up the ladder at 135. And I don't really think he got fraud checked against Ewing. He had to change opponents on around 2 days notice, I believe. And, that's pretty tough to try to come up with a game plan for somebody. So he just elected to go in there and scrap. And yeah, he did look like a left hook merchant, but I feel like he's one of those guys who really, he doesn't have the most experience in martial arts. So he needs a good training camp to be able to set up his combos and know what he wants to throw against his opponents. And he still gave Ewing, who's shown, gotten 2 finishes since then. Believed it. No. Oh, he's about to have his 3rd fight. He finished the one dude coming up a weight class. But yeah, he's shown to have a lot of power in his boxing to be pretty elite. And he gave him a tough-ass scrap, honestly. I feel like that went under the radar just because so many dudes just wanted to point and laugh at him for getting a loss. But yeah, I think Wellmaker striking is up there with the upper echelon of the 135 weight class. He obviously has a lot of power. And I see him getting it done in this one. I think he'll get a KO maybe in round 3. Juan Diaz showed to have a good chin on the Contender Series, but can still get caught. So yeah, I think Wellmaker will get it done. Round 3 finish. And then we have Modestas Bukauskas taking on Christian Edwards. And Bukauskas was supposed to fight somebody else. I'm blanking on who it was. So Christian Edwards ended up stepping on short notice coming off the regional scene. And I'm going to just cut to the chase and go with Bukauskas in this one. I don't really usually like picking opponents that are stepping up on short notice. I feel like it doesn't really go in their favor most of the time. It's usually one of those, let me get my foot in the door and just get in the UFC and work from there type of thing for a lot of guys. He is training out of Oklahoma. So, hopefully bro is able to put on a decent performance and not just come out and get slumped. But I'm going to ride high on Bukauskas having a close fight. Even though he got a loss against Nikita Krylov, he still was able to make it somewhat competitive, getting finished in that 3rd round. But he's still almost in that ranked portion of light heavyweight, and there's a lot of big hitters at that weight class. But yeah, I think Bukauskas will have enough to overall cruise to a victory. And then, boys, we have what might end up being my personal main event. I'm a big Bernardo Sopaj type of guy. I remember just seeing him train with Hamza Chimaev a few years back, and I remember watching his fight against Vinicius Oliveira. That was such a crazy fight. I was at work when that one was happening a few years back. And I remember him doing so well in the first half of the fight, but then his cardio started to give him problems, and Vinicius really poured it on him and ended up getting that disgusting finish on him with the flying knee, if you haven't seen that one. And, yeah, that was, pretty bad. One of the worst finishes in UFC history. But, Vinicius Oliveira is going up a weight class now, leaving the 135 weight class, because he was kind of a weight bully for this weight class. And, yeah, he just was able to pour it on Bernardo, who's not that big for the weight class. But just overall, it's very technical striking and a really diverse wrestling and grappling game. I feel like that's where he really shines. And Timmy Kwamba, I don't know why I said Cumbia. Timmy Kwamba, also has a powerful right hand. I feel like when he throws that right hand down the pipe, he's able to crack. And he has overall fast stands, I feel like, but his footwork isn't the best. Sometimes he can be stuck in mud a little bit, and he will elect to try to grapple and wrestle and clinch up his opponents. But I can see Bernardo getting him reversed in that position and ending up on top. And, he has a good Darce choke. He has a lot of good front chokes. So I can see him ending up getting a submission, maybe just surprising Kwamba if he tries to engage him in the grappling. So I'm going to end up leaning Sopaj. I'm rooting heavy for bro. I hope he's able to get this dub. I want to see him just keep getting better and keep just, making his way towards the rankings at bantamweight. I hope to see him go on a title run one day. But, he has to improve his cardio if he wants to get there. But I'm really hoping bro gets the dub in this one. But yeah, I could see this one going to the scorecards, and maybe Sopaj wins the first 2 rounds and Kwamba's able to pour it on him a little bit in that 3rd, just because he hasn't shown the best cardio. But I'm going to lean Kwamba maybe going for a lazy takedown after getting low kicked. That's another thing I forgot to mention a little bit, is that Bernardo has some really heavy low kicks. He'll really, spam those and start to break down your base using those. I like that, kind of the way he likes to go about his fight, to slowly breaking you down and not, getting into too much dog fights. But yeah, could see him start breaking him down, and then Kwamba goes for a lazy takedown and maybe gets Darce choked or something like that possibly happening. But yeah, I'm for sure going Bernardo on this one. And then we have Nikolai Vernatenikov versus Chaos Williams. These are both just kind of unks of 170 to me. I think Vernatenikov is more newer to the UFC, but he's already like 37 years old. Could really see this fight going either way. Even the odds are damn near pick'em odds, pretty even. But something's telling me to go Chaos Williams just off of the experience in the UFC. And, he's fought some really good guys, and he's really gained that UFC experience over time. So I'm going to just go Chaos by having a crafty unk type unk still got it performance. And then we got Tuco Turcos versus Ivan Erslan. Both of them are about the same range. They're both Navajo Sterling sons. He was able to defeat both of them in his UFC run so far from City Kickboxing. So, they're both kind of those guys that the UFC is feeding to prospects they want to see grow at light heavyweight. But I will say Turcos has showed me the little bit more diverse skill set so far in his UFC run. I feel like he was able to get the sub on Junior's Tafa, which, Tafa doesn't really have any ground game, and he's not the best opponent, but still, I feel like a lot of guys that are able to finish him, are able to go on and have better careers. So I'm going to lean Tuco Turcos. I think he also trains with Aljamain Sterling. So, yeah, I think he's just a little more skilled than Erslan. And then we have Tommy Gant versus Arthur Miniev. And in this one, I know Arthur stepped up on short notice. I forget who Gant was supposed to face. But yeah, Arthur stepped up on short notice. And I just seen a few memes talking about how he has a thick-ass neck. And, he's a real dog. He comes to scrap. So I think I'm going to lay him, bro. I don't know too much about either man. I'm going to just lean, bro, even though I said earlier my rule is, don't pick somebody if they're coming in on short notice. But sometimes you got to break the rules. So I think Miniev gets it done. Possibly a decision. I can just see this one turning into a war since neither man is going to know their style much coming into it. And then we have Kaylin Vieira going against Jacqueline Cavalcanti. And on this one, I think I'm going to lean Jacqueline. I just feel like she's put together a recent win streak. Seen a few of her fights. She didn't impress me too crazy. But she was able to beat Myra Bueno Silva, who also just took a loss earlier this year. So I don't know how much that means in the big 2026. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like her streak, she's just growing in confidence. So I'll lean towards Jacqueline. And then Andre Petrosky versus Cody Brundage. Both pretty low-ranked guys when it comes to the middleweight weight class as a whole. And a lot of, up-and-comers have kind of tended to fight them and be matched up against them. In their early run of the UFC, the company tends to give them one of these guys to help certain guys build their name. But I feel like overall Petrosky has shown me a little bit more when it comes skill set wise. So yeah, I think I'm leaning bro to get a crafty decision over Cody Brundage. And then we have Pollyanna taking on Alice in a strawweight 155 bout. On this one, I'm gonna just go ahead and lean Alice in this one. Pollyanna has kind of been getting finished pretty nasty in her recent fights, and she doesn't look to be on the best run. So yeah, I think Alice will end up getting this one done. And then we're going to have Daniel Perez versus Luis Gurul. And when it comes to this one, I've heard from some people that Daniel is actually pretty decent. And, he has pretty good hands. I feel like Luis, even though he's on a 3-fight losing streak, he's been fighting the better guys and gaining a little bit of UFC experience. And Perez, is a little older at 37. So, yeah, I'm gonna lean Luis, just having the youth advantage and having a little bit better experience, even though he's kind of been getting finished in some of those fights. He's looking decent before the finishes usually. Just with the age of both men, you know what, I'll go a KO. I feel like I could see this one turning into a scrap. It's flyweight, so they don't have the most power. But, yeah, I feel like they'll just throw a lot of strikes, and with their age being up there, one of them will end up getting a finish. But I'm going to lean Luis. And then to open the prelims, we're going to have Shauna Bannon taking on Nicole Cagliari. And, yeah, I think I'm going to just go Mama B. Neither of them have had really that impressive performances or careers. Neither even have that many fights overall, with Shauna at 7-2 and Nicole at 8-4. So, you know, neither of them have really been doing this all that long as far as experience goes with fights had. But yeah, something tells me Deshauna might just have a crafty vet type of performance and have a maybe win a split decision or something like that. So I'm going to go Shauna Bannon. But yeah, boys, those are going to be all my overall thoughts of this upcoming card, Allen versus Costa. We got a lot of fights overall this Saturday coming up with the MVP card going head-to-head with the fight night. We'll see if the UFC give us that Conor versus Max Holloway announcement. It's supposed to be rumored at welterweight, so that's pretty crazy too. But a lot of news overall, and, you know, a lot of things are going to be talked about after this weekend. But yeah, boys, I hope you did like my breakdown and predictions for this fight. Throw together a little parlay and let me know in the comments who you're betting on this weekend. But yeah, hopefully we're able to just enjoy some good fights, kick back, crack a beer, spark a blunt, you know, live life, keep being blessed, and enjoying fights. But yeah, boys, hope y'all have a good rest of y'all's night, day, whenever you're watching this. And we are going to see y'all back in the next one. Stay cool. Peace.